Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren and I will be guiding you through a slow flow yoga practice where we will focus on forward bending. All right, so for this practice, you really don't need anything. I always like to have two blocks and we're gonna start seated. So I'm gonna take a seat on my block. But like always, if you don't have blocks, that's okay. All right, so just position yourself in a comfortable seated position. Again, you might be sitting on something, you may not. You may have your legs crossed, your legs lengthened in front of you, whatever makes sense for you. This is really about just finding a comfortable seated position. Okay, so allowing the legs to relax, lengthening up through the crown of the head, really sit up tall, but let the shoulders relax. Let the arms rest wherever's comfortable. And allow your eyes to softly close. Or if that doesn't feel right for you, you're welcome to look down, maybe about a foot or so in front of you, and just pick one spot and stay really focused on that spot. But either way, allowing the eyes to be on one fixed spot or the eyes to be closed allows us to turn our attention inward. We can focus less on the superficial and less on the material things and focus more on the internal and the deeper and really the more abstract. And so you drop into your body and you really arrive in this present moment. That wherever you're at and whatever time of the day it is or day of the week, that you're right there. Instead of reflecting on yesterday or anticipating tomorrow, you're in the present moment. You feel what it's like to be in your body in this seated position right now. You can drop into these deeper layers of your being. So let's drop into the breath. For a few moments, just notice your breath. Simply observe, watch, and feel your breath as you breathe naturally. One thing you can really notice with your breath, notice whether it makes a sound or if it's silent. And just notice your natural breathing habits and tendencies. You're welcome to stay here just with your natural breath, observing and watching and experiencing your organic breath. Or we can start to manipulate the breath, coming into a pranayama, a breathing technique called the Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi often is translated to victorious. So the hope is that this breathing pattern makes you feel full of victory, full of accomplishments. And you might practice this here alone, which is what we'll do here, but you'll also be welcome to use this breathing pattern while we're moving, while we're practicing, especially in the standing poses. I'll remind you later, but here with the Ujjayi breath is a breathing pattern where we allow the exhalation to be heard. So imagine if you're in a room with other people, or imagine if you were. Other people in the room could hear your breathing. So if you're new to the breathing of the Ujjayi breath, I'll walk you through it. So we'll breathe in through the nose, then out through the mouth as if you're trying to fog up a mirror. Breathing in through the nose, Out through the mouth as if you're trying to fog up a mirror right in front of your face. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So notice that the exhalation is not a sigh, it's not a fast puff of air. Oftentimes students move through the Ujjayi breath like this. That's not an Ujjayi breath. It's still a long breath. There's just a slight restriction in the back of the throat that creates this hissing sound, and the breath travels out very slowly. Now, if you're familiar with the Ujjayi breath, you might do this with your mouth closed. If you're really familiar with the Ujjayi breath, you might incorporate the Ujjayi breath in your inhalation as well as your exhalation. But we're going to stay here for a few more moments with this Ujjayi breath, breathing in through the nose and out through either the nose or the mouth, but creating that sound. Keeping a long breath despite this Ujjayi breath. Let's stay for about 3 more deep breaths with this Ujjayi breath. And then slowly return back to your natural breath. Breathing in and out through your nose in a quiet, soft, and subtle way. But noticing how you feel, noticing if and how that Ujjayi breath, that pranayama affected you. We'll slowly join the hands together in front of the heart in Anjali Mudra, palms together, thumbs softly resting on the collarbones. If it feels right for you in this moment, you are welcome to silently set an intention for your practice. Asking yourself what brought you to your mat. What is it that makes you choose yoga? Make sure that your answer is a positive word or phrase. And give yourself some time to silently and slowly repeat that word or phrase, to allow it to settle in your heart. And now slowly draw your chin in towards your chest, bowing reverently at your intention that you've set for yourself. Slowly allow the eyelids to flutter open, looking down at your fingertips. You can release your arms and slowly lift your head. Okay. All right, we are going to stay seated for a little bit longer. So if you're sitting asymmetrically like I am, change the cross of your legs, put the other leg in front or on top. See if you can do it without using your arms. Okay, and then just noticing how this feels different. It doesn't mean one way of sitting is better than the other. It just means you're used to sitting one way more than the other. So just noticing that and maybe taking that information off your mat, changing the cross of your legs, the cross of your arms, how you hold a bag, those sorts of things. They affect your body. Okay, so we're gonna warm up through our spine here again. The sequence is all about forward bending. So we need our spine to be warmed up. So sit up really tall, lengthen up through the crown of the head. Again, let the shoulders relax, let the arms rest. Inhale as you draw your belly forward, lift your chest, lift your heart, look up. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, draw the ribs back, chin to the chest, look down towards your lap. Inhale as you draw the belly forward, lift the chest, lift the heart, look up. This is a back bend. Exhale into the forward bend, draw the ribs back, looking down. So we'll do just a few more like this, back and forth. Again, the back bend, this is a spinal extension. And then the forward bend, this is a spinal flexion. Let's do one more of each, keeping the shoulders and arms relaxed, focusing on moving through the spine, the front and the back. And then we're gonna return to the center. Come back to that tall, long spine. Shoulders still soft and away from the ears. Inhale, reach the fingertips up. Exhale, bring the right hand down, sweep left fingertips over, sweeping over to the side of the room. Move with your breath. Inhale to the center. Exhale, switch. Left hand down, right fingertips reach. Now, as you're moving from side to side, make sure that your seat is very firmly grounded on whatever it is you're sitting on. We want to avoid lifting one hip or lifting one side of the pelvis. That's not going to hurt you if you do it. It's just not going to get you into as deep of a stretch as I would like for you. We want to really warm up here through the spine. So again, keeping your hips down, your pelvis down, your seat down. Let's do one more each side. Shoulders again are still relaxed and soft away from the ears. You're not pushing the shoulders away from the ears. You are relaxing them away from the ears. Now let's return to the center. Inhale again, lengthen. Exhale, drop the arms, take a twist over to the right. Move with your breath. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, drop the arms, take a twist. So as we're moving here, and not just here, but throughout this video and any video I ever make, or if you're in a live class with me, know that there's no expectation that you are moving at the same pace or the same rhythm or rate as me or anyone else around you. You're listening to your body, to your breath, to what suits you in this moment. So maybe today is a day you feel like moving a little bit slower because that's what's calling to you, and that's all right. Let's do one more each side, wherever you're at. We just want to come out even, so the last one will be twisting to the left. And then inhale, return to the center. Exhale, let the arms come all the way down. All right, we're gonna set up in tabletop. So I always like to bring my blocks to the top two corners of my mat. Again, if you don't have blocks, that is okay. We're really not gonna be needing them, but they're always good to have close by just in case. All right, so we're gonna set up in tabletop. We'll be here for a little bit. Of course, if you need more padding under your knees, you can always do that. So we're gonna set up in a strong tabletop. Spread the fingers as wide as they'll go. Your middle fingers will point forward towards the top of your mat. Push the base of your pointer fingers down into the ground and lift your chest away from the earth. We wanna make sure we're not shrugging and slouching, so we're gonna lift up. Knees are under the hips. I like the tops of the feet down on the ground, but you can have the toes hooked under, your call. But what we really want to watch is the belly, making sure that the belly is not going to sag down. Notice this is a back bend. We're looking for a neutral spine here. All right, so we're gonna also keep the neck in neutral. Reach the crown of your head forward. Look at the tip of your left thumb. Look at the tip of your left thumb. 1 for balance, 2 to keep the neck in alignment. So look at the tip of your left thumb and reach your right fingertips forward like you're gonna shake someone's hand. Reaching your right fingertips forward with your right thumb to the sky. Now push the base of the pointer finger down, that left hand. Push that left pointer finger, the base of that pointer finger down. Lift up and out of your left armpit. Now you're welcome to stay here or start to lengthen your left leg back, pushing through the heel. Your left toes will point down towards the floor. Make sure that the left hip doesn't hike up. Your belly button should be pointing straight down to the mat, not over to the left. Keep pushing the left hand down, reaching the left heel back. Stay for a deep breath, spinal balance. Inhale, exhale, slowly lower. Let the hand and the knee touch the mat at the same time. Okay. Of course, same thing, second side. So setting up in that tabletop. Again, you can always pad your knees or your wrists if you need it. Spread your fingers wide. Push the base of the right pointer finger down. Really push the right hand down and reach the left fingertips forward. Now to keep your neck in neutral, look at the tip of your right thumb as you reach left fingertips forward. Oftentimes students want to look in the direction that their left fingertips are pointing, but this is too much in your neck. So we want to keep the back of the neck long. Okay, now you can stay here, really push the right hand down, lengthen that right arm, engage the right side of your chest, or you can add the leg, reach the right leg back, push through the heel. Right toes will point down. Now, you're gonna reach the right heel back, toes again point down, flex the foot, And we want to make sure that the right hip isn't hiking up. Where is your belly button pointing? Imagine that it's a laser pointer. Where would it point? It should point straight below you, down at your mat, like the center of your mat, not over to the right. Let's stay for one more deep breath, spinal balance. Inhale. Exhale, slowly lower, hand and the knee touch at the same time. Okay, we're gonna do that one more time each side. So if you wanna let your hips sway or roll out your wrists, that's never a bad idea. Our wrists get tight and our forearms get tight just like any other space in our body. We're very rarely asking our wrists to do this with our body weight in it. So rolling them out, giving them a little bit of time, a little bit of movement. Okay, we're gonna do that again. Now this time we're gonna add a forward bend into this action. Okay, so from tabletop, again, spread your fingers, look at the tip of your left thumb, reach your right fingertips forward like you're gonna shake someone's hand, push that left hand down, especially the base of the pointer finger. You can stay here or you can reach your left leg back, push through the heel. Now, hips are level, belly button points straight down. Push the left hand down, lift up and out of your armpit. Make sure the chest is working. You absolutely could stay still and stay here. Or inhale, exhale, draw the elbow and the knee in toward the belly and take a forward bend, round into cat pose, chin to the chest, look towards your belly button. Inhale, lengthen out into a neutral spine. Exhale into the forward bend, elbow and knee in towards the belly. Let's do 3 more. Inhale, lengthen and stretch. Exhale, crunch everything in. 2 more. Inhale to reach and grow long. Exhale, crunch it in, that forward bend. 1 more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. Now this time, inhale to lengthen. Hold it here at the top in a neutral spine, reaching out. And then inhale. Exhale, slowly return. Hand and the knee touch at the same time. Good. Okay, so of course we've got our last one, second side. So tabletop, look at the tip of your right thumb, keep your neck in neutral, and here your spine in neutral. So make sure that the belly isn't dropping down. We're not doing forward, we are doing forward bends, we're not doing back bends. So we want neutral here. All right, look at the tip of your right thumb, reach your left fingertips forward. Push the right hand down, lift up and out of the right armpit, work the chest, push the base of the pointer finger down. Maybe you reach the right heel back, push through the heel, right toes point down, hips are level, belly button points straight to the ground. You've got stability and strength. You can stay here or inhale. Exhale, elbow and the knee into the belly, take the forward bend, look towards your belly button. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch it in, just like this with your breath. 3 more. Inhale to expand out and stretch. Exhale to crunch in, nice and tight. 2 more. Inhale, slowly expanding. Exhale, slowly crunching. 1 more, there's no rush. Feel your muscles working. Feel everything working together cohesively. Inhale, lengthen out, hold it here for a full breath. Keep breathing, but hold the movement still, the pose still. And then inhale. Exhale, return the hand and the knee back down. They touch at the same time. Okay, again, roll out your wrists, whatever you need to do, your hips, your shoulders, whatever. There's a lot of places working hard to do that movement. And I think it's a little deceiving sometimes. And sometimes we move a little too fast and then the spaces can't really work quite as hard. Okay. All right, we're gonna come back into tabletop, not for long though. So from tabletop, we're gonna walk the hands 1 whole handprint closer to the top of the mat. Spread the fingers as wide as they'll go. Push the base of the pointer finger down. Hook the toes under. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. So give yourself a few breaths here. You might pedal out your heels. You might shake your head yes and no. Sway the hips, whatever you need. Just a few moments in your first downward facing dog, presumably your first downward facing dog of the day. Knowing that there's no expectation here that your legs will be straight, especially in the first several down dogs.
I'd rather your spine is in neutral first and your legs do whatever they need to do to keep the spine in neutral. Okay. All right, we'll come into a static downward facing dog. Spread your fingers as wide as they'll go. We'll do this just one time. Inhale, shift forward into plank pose, the top part of a push-up. Shoulders over elbows, elbows over wrists. Spread the fingers as wide as they'll go. Now you're certainly not in a back bend here. This shows me your lower back is vulnerable. It actually doesn't feel good in my lower back. And your abs aren't working. So tuck the tailbone, bring the spine to neutral. Take a deep breath here. You've got it. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Okay. Now deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward to the space between your thumbs. Exhale, travel forward. Walk or step forward into forward fold Uttanasana. Feet are hip distance towards the top of the mat. Feet look like the number 11. Just like down dog, there's no expectation that your legs will be straight. I actually recommend a soft bend in the knees for the first several forward folds and down dogs. Now, we're in a forward fold, a forward bend. You might just hang here. You might grab onto opposite elbows and sway, or maybe you take a yoga mudra, interlace the fingers, knuckles to the sky. But just notice what it feels like to be stretching through the back side of the body. This is the movement and this is the shape we're going to be taking quite a bit through the practice. So noticing what this feels like in your body. Uttanasana, forward fold. One more breath. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen your spine, crown of the head forward, tailbone back. You're in a neutral spine, not a forward bend, not a back bend. Exhale, fold forward into the forward bend. Push the heels into the floor and inhale, rise. Reach the fingertips to the sky. Maybe you even add a bit of a back bend at the top. Slowly bring your hands through to your heart and take a deep breath. So as I mentioned, we're going to be moving through a lot of forward bends. And so you always have that option when we're at the top to take Urdhva Hastasana, which is upward salute. So when we're coming up, we're about to do it several times, you're welcome to keep your spine in neutral. I will most likely be doing that myself, keeping everything in neutral and just looking forward. But know that you always have the option to lift the chest, lift the heart, and look up and take a bit of a back bend. But for me, taking that back bend is going to feel counterintuitive to what we want to do, which is all the forward bends. So it's entirely up to you. It depends on how your back is feeling. If those back bends feel good for you, then go ahead and take them. But I can feel in my body that they just don't feel quite right today. So I'm going to be skipping them, and I most likely won't be cueing them. I guess all of that to say you're welcome to take it even if I don't say it. And that goes with everything. Okay, so let's take some half sun salutations. So feet hip distance, weight in the heels. You can wiggle the toes. Hands can always start alongside the body. They absolutely can. I always like my hands at my heart, just connecting to my heart chakra. You let the shoulders relax wherever you've got the arms. Stay for a deep breath in Tadasana, mountain pose. Okay. Inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Maybe take the back bend. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, a neutral spine. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Push the heels into the ground, inhale, rise. Maybe add the back bend, maybe not. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana, rounding the spine forward. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine to neutral. Exhale, fold forward again in the forward bend, Uttanasana. Push the heels into the ground, inhale, rise. Fingertips to the sky. 1 more, exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. Fingers to the sky, maybe add the back bend. We're gonna keep going. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot back, all the way back. We're going to come into the runner's lunge. We're now moving through Surya Namaskar C, sun salutation C, or the lunge salutations.
So we're in this runner's lunge. Your hands might be on blocks or on a prop if you got them, or right on the ground. But what my hope for you is that your thigh and your belly are maybe touching, but certainly not resting. You're not dumping the weight of your upper body into your leg, because that's really what it is, dumping the weight into the leg. And that's not what we want. The legs are strong and firm and stable. The crown of the head reaches forward and the chest lifts. Stay for a breath, runner's lunge. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands onto the mat and step back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Hands are shoulder distance apart, feet are hip distance apart. Okay, spread your fingers as wide as they'll go. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose, like the top part of a push-up. Now, anytime we come here, you're welcome to drop to your knees in a modified plank or stay on your toes, but make sure your spine and your pelvis is in neutral. So you're not in a back bend. You're tucking the tailbone, spine is in neutral. Stay for one whole breath here. And then inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto your belly. Bring the tops of your feet down onto the ground, hands under the shoulders, maybe slide them back, move this out of the way, maybe slide them back even a little bit more. Draw the elbows in tight, inhale, rise to your back bend. We're gonna stay for a few moments here. So maybe you just lift your chest off the ground a little bit, keeping the elbows deeply bent, but again, elbows in tight. Or really firmly push the hands down, straighten the arms, come into Bhujangasana, Cobra. Now, no matter what version of Cobra you're in a back bend, and that's okay. Just because we're focusing on forward bends doesn't mean we're not allowed to do any back bends. We just want to do more forward bends than back bends. And so that's all right, we're gonna get there. Pull the heart forward, take a deep breath. Inhale, lower the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Now from here, slowly pick up the right foot, reach the right heel back towards the wall behind you, keeping the hips level. Laser pointer, belly button pointing down at your left toes. Inhale. Exhale, draw your right knee in towards your belly and quietly place the foot in between the hands. So if you hear your foot stomp, we want to work on that a little bit. Be a little softer on the feet. And it's really just a matter of, it's a matter of a lot of things. Strength and stability and getting used to the movement. So don't be hard on yourself if you're doing that stomp, because a lot of people do it. But we want to just notice and then make some small adjustments each time we do it. Okay, so now you're in this runner's lunge. You draw the right knee forward, the right heel down. You firm up the legs, thighs are engaged. You lengthen the spine, lift the chest, stay for a breath. Inhale, exhale, step forward, forward fold, Uttanasana, take the forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway, come to a neutral spine, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Push the heels down, inhale, rise all the way up. We're gonna do that one more time. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine, come to neutral. Exhale, step the left foot back, all the way back. Making sure when you step it back, you step it straight back so each foot is in its own lane of traffic. You push that right heel into the ground, draw the right knee forward, take a breath. Inhale, bring the hands onto the mat. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, taking your time. So even here when you're stepping back, are you stomping your feet? And it's okay, you just notice these things. You spread your fingers wide here, push the base of the pointer fingers down, inhale to plank. Now, you could drop to your knees, you could stay here, but either way, you push your hands down, you lift your chest up, like you're creating space between the mat and your chest, like you're pushing the earth away from you. Take a full breath here. Plank pose, strengthening the front of the body. And then inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower, elbows in tight, all the way down onto the mat. Tops of the feet down, hands under the shoulders, maybe slide them back more. Inhale, rise your back bend. We're gonna take a few breaths. So you can stay low, elbows bent, just draw the elbows in, shoulders down and back. Or maybe you push the hands down, straighten the arms. But that's the case, you're pushing your hands down like you're reaching the crown of your head up towards the ceiling, and you pull your heart forward. Make it a good back bend. Stay for a breath. Bhujangasana, Cobra. Inhale, lower the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, let's finish this Surya Namaskar. Pick up the left foot, reach the left heel back. Inhale, hips are level. Exhale, draw the left knee in towards the belly. Quietly place your left foot in between your hands. So if you've got to pull it or push it, know that that's perfectly fine. I'd rather you pull it or push it than stomp it. Okay, so hands are down on something under the shoulders. You push the hands down to keep the chest lifted. You draw the left shin forward, left heel into the ground. Strengthen and engage these legs. Take a breath. Inhale. Exhale, step forward, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise, push the heels down. Reach the fingertips to the sky. We're going to come into our standing poses. Exhale, hinge of the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot back. Now, start by stepping it all the way back like you would in a runner's lunge, a longer stance. But then, hop it forward one little hop. So I like to say usually 6 or so inches, 6 to 8 inches, something along those lines. And then pivot the foot, ground the heel. Now, a little alignment stuff. We're going to come into Warrior One. Oftentimes, Warrior One is described as a heel-to-heel alignment pose, meaning that if you drop your head and imagine that your left heel has an imaginary line coming down it, that it would intersect the back heel, heel to heel. They're both on the same plane. They're both on the same line. But if that doesn't feel right for you, like it doesn't in my body, I like to take my right foot over just a little bit so my heels are each in their own lane of traffic again. This is a little bit better if you've got wider hips, a wider frame, things like that. It's going to help a little bit with stability if you've got stability issues as well. Okay, so firm up both heels, push them down, deeply bend the left knee. Bring your hands to the top of your left thigh to help lift your torso, and eventually reach your fingers to the sky, come to Warrior One. Now I'm going to drop this arm just so I'm not talking into my armpit, but you keep both arms extended up, palms facing each other, maybe even palms facing the wall behind you, pinky fingers in towards each other. Okay, so you're going to keep drawing the left knee forward and the left heel into the ground, and even though you're coming forward and down, do you have the freedom to wiggle your left toes? We want to protect the knee, okay? Now I mentioned thinking about your hips and your belly button like a laser pointer kind of squaring forward. So imagine your belly button is a laser pointer. Is it pointing over to the right? Can you square it to the center? Can you square it to the front? Now that's really challenging for most of us. So it's not to say if you can't get it there, there's something wrong, or never think that. But it's just a long-term goal. I want you to think about all these things. These are long-term goals. This is not, okay, now I'm there. It's gonna take time. So draw your belly button so it points forward. Draw the right hip forward, but don't lose the grounding in the right foot. Push the right heel down, the right pinky toe side of the foot down. And those arms are reaching up, but the shoulders are soft. Take a deep breath, Warrior One, Virabhadrasana One. Okay, now we're going to bring the hands to the hips. Keep the legs as they are. Inhale, reach up from the crown of the head. Exhale as you start to fold forward. We're going to come to Humble Warrior. Now you can rest your torso on your thigh here. You might let it come between the thighs. And you might keep your hands under your hips. You might bring your hands onto the ground or to blocks. But I want you to think about rounding and folding forward. So if you're folding forward over that front leg, maybe the torso rests on the thigh, you drop your head
and you look back towards your right foot. Or maybe, again, your torso hangs between the thighs. You sort of drop your head, look through your legs, almost over to the back left corner of your mat, more or less. But I want you to think about letting your head feel heavy, sort of surrendering to gravity as best you can. In humble warrior, stay for one more breath. Stay strong through the legs. Now firmly push the heels into the ground. Slowly return back to warrior one. Fingertips up to the sky. All right, one more time, hands at the hips. Push the front heel into the ground, straighten the leg. Your quads can relax. Those are your quads, and they were working hard. Now we're gonna focus less on strengthening the quad, more on stretching the hamstrings, okay? So again, square up the hips. Imagine your belly button pointing directly forward. Your right hip comes forward, your left hip goes back. I like to start with hands at the hips, or your arms could be alongside your body. But inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, fold forward, keeping your back flat for as long as you can. So I like to lower till my torso is about parallel to the ground, and I draw my left hip back again, my right hip forward, I square everything up. And here, I feel my left hamstrings. I certainly feel from the sit bones to at least the knee, but I feel it even through the calf today, really growing long. And you could stay here keeping your back flat. Maybe you grab onto blocks and you keep lifting your chest, lengthening your spine. Opening the hamstrings is going to help us open the back of the torso, because if we open one part of the back of the body, it helps the other part. It has this domino effect, the kinetic chain, the posterior chain specifically. Okay, so you could stay here, just focus on the hamstrings, or again, take the forward bend, take the forward fold, rounding through your upper body, dropping your head, looking again back towards your back foot or the wall behind you. Hands can stay on blocks, or maybe they come to the ground. But keep pushing the heels down, drawing the left hip back, right hip forward. Lengthen the back of your left leg. Stay for a deep breath, pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Now from here, slowly bend your left knee and allow your chest to lift. Lengthen the spine again. Come back to a neutral spine. Push the heels into the floor, and one more time, rise all the way up to a warrior one. Square the hips, ground the feet, lengthen through the crown of the head and the fingertips. Take a breath. Inhale. Exhale, plant the hands down, step back into downward facing dog. You've got 3 to 5 breaths before we do that on the second side. If you want to take a vinyasa, a child's pose, a down dog variation, anything in between, anything that you'd like for the next few moments. Okay, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. I'm going to flip around so I'm facing the opposite direction, but you can stay right where you're at. I just don't want you to be surprised when you look up at me and I'm facing a different direction. Okay, so we're all in downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. From here, deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Walk, step, or jump. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Push the heels into the ground. Inhale, rise all the way up. Fingertips to the sky. You can add the back bend or not. We're going to come right into it. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the left foot back. Start by stepping it all the way back. So like you normally would. And then, again, hop it forward one little hop. That's going to help because I'm going to be cueing you to draw the left hip forward. If your left foot's all the way back there, you can't draw the hip forward. So we want to help ourselves out. Then pivot the foot. You could do heel to heel alignment. That's really traditional and really old school, and you can do that. But there's a reason that we adapt, right? So not just because something's traditional and we've been doing it forever, doesn't mean
we stick with it, right? So you could do hip distance. All right, now push the heels into the ground, bend the right knee, hands to the top of the right thigh, and slowly rise and lift your torso. And then fingertips again to the sky, palms face each other or palms face the wall behind you. I'm gonna drop this arm just so you can still see me. So another note, and then I can drop the heel to heel alignment thing, is that heel to heel alignment was a cue when yoga was a prompt, a cue that students were being told when yoga was taught exclusively one-on-one and exclusively to young boys, really. I don't even want to say young men. I mean 14-year-olds. So if you have the hips of a 14-year-old boy, heel to heel might be okay for you. I don't. So I like hip width apart. My hip width apart. Okay, so you draw the right knee forward, you push the right heel down. Now, you draw the right hip back. I don't know if you can hear my knee crack. That's okay, it actually felt good. The right hip back, the left hip forward, belly button points forward. And something else I didn't mention the first side, the back foot is hooked in more than a warrior two, because again, the idea is to square forward. So we've got a shorter stance and we hook that toe in so that the belly button can point forward. You lengthen up, keep the arms reaching up, but soften the shoulders. Take a breath, warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Okay, now we're gonna bring the hands to the hips, keep the legs as they are here. Inhale, lengthen the spine, square the hips again. Exhale, humble warrior. Now, here I'm okay with your torso resting on your thigh because you're gonna bring your hands down onto something and take a little of the weight off. So you could rest torso to thigh. You could keep your neck in neutral. If you prefer to look at your right big toe, you can. Or at least stretch the back of the neck and the upper back by dropping the head, looking back at the left big toe. Or maybe you allow your torso to drop between the thighs to the inner part of the right thigh. You let your torso hang, you drop your head and look back again, sort of like you're looking back at the back right corner of your mat. Now, if you take that variation for me, I'm feeling a lot in my right hip. It feels good though. But maybe feeling it through the hip, maybe feeling it mostly through the torso. The legs are still working, so there's a lot happening. Humble warrior, one more deep breath. Firmly push the heels into the ground and inhale, rise all the way back up to one warrior two again. I was gonna say one more, but we actually have one more. Okay, and then hands at the hip one more time. Push the right heel, my foot sliding, push the right heel into the ground to straighten the legs. Right quad can rest now. Okay, but we really want the hips to square forward here more than any of those other poses, I would argue, because we really want to open the back of the right leg. So right hip back, left hip forward, belly button pointing forward, not over to the left. I like hands at the hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold, keeping your back flat to start. So your spine is in neutral. You're just hinging at your hips. You're lengthening the back of the right leg. Now, keeping the back flat, you might bring your hands onto something and stay just like this. Lengthening the crown of the head forward, looking at your right big toe, but keep drawing your right hip back, left hip forward, really square up. You could stay here, or when you feel comfortable, you can start to round through your upper body, dropping your head, looking back towards your left big toe, but keep the hips square. The back of the right leg long. This is pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Take one more deep breath here. Now slowly bend the right knee, push the heels into the floor. Inhale, one last, this is our last one, warrior one. One breath here. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands down, downward facing dog. 3 to 5 breaths. Transition however you would like. That might mean moving, that might mean resting, whatever you need. Again, while you do that, I'm going to flip back. Okay, take one more breath wherever you're at, and we'll all meet in downward facing dog.
from downward facing dog. Deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Fingertips to the sky. Maybe add that back bend if it feels good. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath. Okay. All right, we are going to take a wide leg forward fold. So you're going to need to turn so you're using the length of your mat. This is going to be a little funky because I'm going to sort of have my back to you and you're going to probably have your back to me, but I will talk you through it. All right, so we're going to take a long stance, and if you've got blocks, you might bring one or both so they're in front of you at the center of your mat. But you're going to take a wide stance. So this is the length or the width of the stance that you would take for, think like a warrior two. Remember warrior one, I told you to hop it in one hop. But warrior two is that much longer stance, so we want that kind of length. We didn't necessarily come to that pose today, but I think you know what I mean. Okay, so you're gonna hook your big toes in just a little bit. So you wanna make sure that your feet are at least parallel, if not just a hair hooked in. Push through the heels, the outside edges of the feet, through the pinky toe sides of the feet, and the ball mount of the foot. I always like to think that the part of you that's pushing into the ground sort of looks like the letter C, the heel, the outside edge, and the base of the toes. So sort of this C shape or backward C. All right, push down through all that. I like hands at the hips. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, just like before, fold at your hips. Keep your spine in neutral, your back flat for as long as possible. You might bring your hands down onto a prop or down right onto the ground. And you might focus on lifting your chest, lengthening your spine, crown of the head forward, tailbone back, heels, outside edges, and base of the big toes pushing down. Now, you're gonna feel a stretch through your inner thighs. You might feel, depending on how much you're pushing down through the pinky toe sides of the feet, you might be feeling sensation through the outsides of the ankles, outsides of the calves. Now we could make this a forward bend. Again, you're welcome to stay here with your chest lifted, your back flat, or we could make this a forward bend by allowing the chest to lower, dropping the head, looking through your thighs towards the wall behind you. You can bring your hands under your shoulders. Maybe your hands come to the insides of your feet, more like under your hips. You can grab onto your ankles or your calves. Maybe you take Yoga Mudra, interlacing the fingers by your lower back, lengthening through the knuckles, reaching your knuckles towards the ceiling, and then like you're reaching your knuckles overhead. Okay, but wherever you'd like to be, keep pushing through the heels, the outside edges of the feet, and the base of the toes. So even the base of the big toe. This is a wide leg forward fold. Play with allowing your weight to be shifted forward into the toes and back into the heels. How does that change the stretch in your body? We're gonna stay for about 3 breaths. You can explore and be wherever you'd like to be in some version of this pose. Take one more deep breath here. Okay. Now slowly bring your hands back under your shoulders and lift your chest. So lengthening your spine, crown of the head forward, tailbone back. Maybe you have a prop, maybe not. But allow your chest to be lifted, spine to be long. Now really push the feet into the floor. Bring your hands to your hips and inhale, rise, maintaining a neutral spine as you rise. All right, and then you can heel toe your feet back together. There's a lot going on in that. So you might have been feeling a lot of sensation in a lot of different places. Something new that just happened for me is my foot was kind of cramping up, which isn't usual. But so there's really no right or wrong in anything we do, as long as it's comfortable, as long as you're able to sit with it, you're good. Okay, so let's come back facing forward, whatever that is for you, to the top of your mat, sort of recentering yourself the way we've been. Okay, weight back in the heels, you can wiggle the toes.
Inhale, reach the fingertips up. Maybe you even take the back bend. Exhale, hinge of the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking your time to step back into what is going to be our last downward facing dog of the practice. If you're not interested in another down dog, you can come to child's pose. But again, about 3 to 5 breaths, maybe one more vinyasa, maybe a child's pose, maybe a down dog variation. Okay, now from downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees, come all the way down into tabletop on all fours. Okay, now we're gonna swing the legs around, we're gonna come into a seat. I'm gonna just flip around here. And we don't need our props anymore, so if they're kind of in your way, you can move them. All right, so now we're gonna cool down. We're gonna take one more forward fold, one more forward bend. This is actually going to be our last one. So we're gonna sit with the legs long and extended. The feet are welcome to be hip distance apart. Excuse me, I like my feet together, whatever feels best. What's more important than that is that your toes are facing the ceiling to protect your knees. It's to protect your knees, but it's also to lengthen. So think about if you were to allow your heel come towards the knee, you just shortened this space, right? So that this is, some of you have heard me talk about this, wearing high heels makes your calves really tight. It's because your foot is always like this part is always shortened. So we want to lengthen. So now this can be longer. So it's protecting the knee, but it also will deepen the stretch. Okay. So hands can come beside you. Ideally palms would be flat, but my arms are not long enough for that. So I push my fingertips down, but you can push your palms down if that works. But draw your heels forward, toes to the sky. Seat down, hands down, crown of the head up, sit up tall. Lift the chest, inhale. Exhale as you start to crawl your fingertips forward, hinging at your hips. I'm not sure if you can see me, but the hope is that your spine is staying in neutral for as long as it can. I want you to think about flexing and shortening at your hip flexors, not at your spine. We're gonna get there. But all of this can be deeper if we do it in this very specific order, this order of operations. I think like math, right? Order of operations, you do things in a specific order because it gets you where you want to be. So, or where you were intended to be. So we keep the back flat as we fold at the hips. Now, I'll kind of walk you through what I'm feeling to help you sort of assess what you're feeling. But again, there's no right or wrong. I guess, let me take that back. The wrong would be something that's painful. This should not be painful. It should not make you wince, make a face, or think, ow. Now, the spaces that are being stretched in my body are really tight. So I am feeling sensation. I am feeling it. I am alert. I am privy to what's happening in my body, but I am in no way thinking, ow, wincing, making a face. Okay. So what I'm feeling is a stretch in my calves, a stretch in the back of the knee, a stretch through my hamstrings, through the backs of the thighs. I'm also feeling it through my lower glutes, through my upper glutes, and through my lower back. All of that can be feeling all of that, and that's perfectly fine, again, as long as it's comfortable. Okay, I think you know that by now. So lift your chest, relax your shoulders. Maybe you crawl your fingertips forward and you kind of grab onto something. You absolutely can stay here, keeping your chest lifted, your back flat. Or now you can add the forward bend, letting your chest fall, rounding through your upper body. You might reach for your toes. That's, in my opinion, that's really not sort of the end goal in this pose. It doesn't, whether my hands are on my shins or on my toes, I feel the same thing. So there's no stress that you should be able to touch your toes. That's a big one. That's a big one that people place on themselves, this pressure of like, well, everyone else in the room is touching their toes. Lucky for you, you're practicing at home, so you don't know what other people are doing. And I don't care if I can touch my toes. That means nothing to me. So I'm just looking for a comfortable stretch. So I place my hand where that means that they feel good, which actually right now is my shins.
And I let my heart fall down. I let my chin drop towards my chest. I keep reaching my toes to the sky, heels forward, and I feel lengthening through the whole back side of the body. I feel it from the back of my skull all the way down through the glutes, the legs, all the way to my heels. Now, you may or may not be feeling that. I'm not telling you what I'm feeling really to discourage you in any way. It's just you could be feeling a lot, and that's okay. Now we're gonna stay here. This is Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. We're gonna stay here for a few more breaths. So can you let gravity pull your heart a little bit closer to your thighs? You're not pushing. You are not doing the work. The only work you're doing is flexing your feet. The only work you are doing is flexing your feet. Everything else is gravity. Everything else is passive and soft. Paschimottanasana, seated forward bend. 3 deep breaths here. And then slide your hands so they come under your shoulders as best as you can. Push your hands into the ground to lift your upper body. So use the strength of your arms because your back was just so relaxed. And then sit upright. You can relax your legs. I actually feel like I want to let my legs cross for just a second because that really was a lot for me. I might put on a brave face, but I have tightness too. So I just want you to think about sitting up tall instead of rounding forward as we just were, allowing your spine to come back to neutral where everything is more or less sort of stacked on top of each other. Take a deep breath. All right, now we're going to come all the way down onto our backs. So you can lower yourself down onto your back. So from your back, bend your knees, have your feet flat on the ground. Let your arms come out in opposite directions with the palms up. And even just here, notice what it feels like to have your spine resting flat on the floor. We really haven't been here at all, really, through this entire practice. We've been moving the spine so much. So what does it feel like now to rest flat on your back where your spine is really in neutral here? Okay. Now you're welcome to stay here a little bit longer. I think if I wasn't recording, I would sit here longer because my back feels like it really just, I don't know, kind of got what it needed and wants to stay here. So know that you're welcome at any point. You can always pause, you can fast forward. I won't know the difference. You can do whatever, you can skip and you can pick and choose. If it were up to me, which I guess this video still is, but if I were just practicing on my own, I would just sit right here because this feels really good for me. But let's keep it moving in case your body isn't like mine, which it's not. Not everybody's body is like somebody else's. So let your knees just sway side to side. Oh, this does feel good too. So starting with a slower and a little bit of a smaller movement, sometimes when we do this movement, we feel tempted to let our legs touch the ground. That's not what we're going for right now. We're gonna get there. We wanna gradually get there, right? So just letting the legs go side to side. I always think about letting them drop maybe about halfway. They don't have to go far. So we've been, again, working on forward bend. That last pose we did, Paschimottanasana, that was our last forward bend. So now we're gonna start to move the spine in a different direction, which is to rotate, is to twist. You're gonna keep your upper body relaxed, the backs of the shoulders heavy on the ground. And then whenever you're ready, again, there's no rush. You could pause the video, you could do this longer, whatever you want. But whenever you are ready, you're gonna let your legs fall over to the left You might scoot your hips over to the right a little bit too, to let the legs fall to the left. And something to think about for those of you who are really detail oriented, like myself, and sort of want a deeper cue. But if you're new to this pose, absolutely just be where you're at. But for those of you thinking, well, should I scoop my hips or should I not? If you're to look at your body, the hope is that your torso is still a straight line, more or less. It might be twisted, but we don't want your hips sort of curving. So if you look at your body, it shouldn't make sort of a diagonal line or like the letter J where it sort of hooks at the bottom. We want everything sort of still in a straight line, if that makes sense. So think about if someone were to see you from an aerial view, from a bird's eye view, your torso would still be a straight line. Okay. Now, you might turn at your neck to look over your right shoulder. And you might take a different variation with your legs. But allow your body to relax. This is a passive, gentle, comfortable stretch. Now your body shouldn't be doing any work. Everything can relax. Let's stay for 3 deep breaths. If your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs to the center. And again, scoot your hips over. So if you moved them over to the right, recenter them and just pause in the center in neutral for a deep breath. And then again, let your knees sway side to side. Again, they only maybe drop about halfway. This isn't meant to be really deep. When we're holding the pose, that has the opportunity to be a little deeper because it's passive, because we're there longer, and we do let the legs fall over. But here, that's not the purpose, that's not the intention. We're just allowing some movement between twisting to the left and twisting to the right. And again, whenever you're ready, there's no rush. But whenever you're ready, you'll let your legs fall over to the right. You might even scoot your hips over to the left. Okay. Now with the legs over to the right, you might turn at your neck to look over your left shoulder, or you might keep your neck in neutral. Just because there is an option to make something deeper doesn't mean you have to do it. Just because just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So I can take the neck stretch, but I don't really feel like my neck wants one right now, so I'm not going to do it. So you listen to your body, and you let yourself relax. You let your muscles and your joints soften. You allow any tension through the body to be released. Gravity does all of the work. You really can relax. Let's take 3 deep breaths here. Now, if your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center.
recenter the hips, recenter the spine, bring everything back to neutral, and observe how you feel. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. Now you can just hug the knees into the chest and stay still. You might rock side to side. If you do that, let your head go along for the ride, massage the back of your skull. If you're looking for a hip opener, because we really didn't do any, you might take a happy baby. There you might rock side to side. You also, in Apanasana, with your knees into your chest, you might place your hands on your knees and roll your knees in circles like you're stirring a pot. Of course, make sure to go in the opposite direction. This feels good today. So anything that feels good, anything that brings you some ease, again, that sort of feels like maybe a massage or really comforting with minimal effort. And then whenever you're ready, we'll set up in Shavasana. I'm going to work my way up to a seat, but you are going to stay on your back, positioning yourself in your version of Shavasana, which may or may not include props or whatever you need. You might put on layers, a sweatshirt, socks, grab a blanket. Whatever, again, your body needs. Keeping in mind that Shavasana isn't about setting yourself up in a stretch. I often see people in group classes take a stretch like fish pose or butterfly or supported bridge or something like that in Shavasana, and I encourage you to take a traditional Shavasana, whether that means your legs extended or your knees bent, but it's not about a yoga pose. It's not about creating a stretch or a shape. I think that tends to feed into the culture of multitasking and trying to do two things at once, do the stretch and do the Shavasana, and I don't think you can do that. I hate to break it to you, but I want you to really master this relaxation. That's my hope for you. So finding yourself in something along the lines of a traditional Shavasana, where your legs are totally relaxed. You can soften through your toes, your feet and ankles, your calves and shins are soft and free of tension. The knees, the thighs, the glutes, all relaxed. Your lower back is free from tension, as well as your mid-back and upper back, all relaxed. Your shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Relaxed, soft, free from tension. Allow this wave of relaxation to continue washing over you, softening through your chest and shoulders, throat, neck and jaw, lips and tongue, cheeks and nose, eyes, eyelids, eyebrows, forehead. Soften through your hairline, your scalp. Let your skull feel heavy. Let the entire back side of the body feel heavy. Softening every muscle, every joint, every fiber of your being as you are relaxed but still present, calm yet aware, gentle but mindful. Slowly start to deepen your breath. And as you take these deep, full, long, fresh breaths, create some movement in your body. Maybe let your head rock from side to side and run your thumbs over the rest of your fingers as you wiggle your toes. Roll your wrists and ankles. Move your arms and legs. You can reach your arms overhead, stretching as if you just woke up from a long nap. Fingertips and toes in opposite directions. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. And slowly roll over onto either side in a tucked fetal position, resting your ear on your arm to support your head and neck. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today. And maybe reflect on your intention. Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Now slowly join your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra, palms together, thumbs resting on the collarbones. To seal our practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. You're welcome to join me or just listen. But the sound of Om is said to be the seed sound, the first sound that ever existed, and all other sounds stemmed from this seed sound. It unites all of us together. So again, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. Let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Lauren, and this was a slow flow class focused on forward bends. I think you know that by now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.